The Xenobiology Department of the Galactic Academy had encountered many peculiarities throughout the centuries, yet Sarah Chen continued to be a mystery that even the most experienced professors struggled to unravel. In the back corner of Professor Kethvar's Advanced Predator Studies class, she sat with her notebook open, her stylus gliding in careful, deliberate movements. Her presence was so subtle that many overlooked her entirely. However, the predators did not forget. Zara, an imposing Coranian hunter, reaching almost 8 feet in height, equipped with sharp talons and glowing threat displays, had instinctively adjusted his seat during the initial week. What began as a casual adjustment evolved into a purposeful 12-foot buffer zone. The enormous reptile's hunting instincts, refined through countless ages of evolution, shouted alerts whenever he approached nearer. "Today we explore the top predators of Sector 7, Professor Kethvar declared, his 4 eyes surveying the varied classroom. The Vorthan's snake-like shape twisted behind his lectern as holographic images appeared above their heads, the lurking shadows of Nyx Prime. Sarah's stylus halted for precisely 1.3 seconds before continuing its consistent pace. The movement was so slight that only the advanced sensors of the security drones detected it, marking the irregularity in their ongoing monitoring records. Beside her, Laika the Ethereal maintained her photonic form at a deliberately low intensity. The natural glow of the energy being had been gradually fading since the start of the semester, an involuntary dimming reaction that her species usually reserved for encounters with cosmic-level dangers. She was unable to articulate why the silent person evoked such instinctive responses. "Miss Chen," Professor Kethvar's voice interrupted the lecture hall. "Could you share your insights on the dynamics of predator hierarchy?" All eyes were drawn to the back corner. Sarah glanced up from her notes, her brown eyes meeting the professor's gaze with a serene detachment. Her voice was soft, nearly gentle when she spoke. She stated that hierarchy implies a struggle for resources. Genuine apex predators do not engage in competition. They just are. A cool breeze swept across the classroom. Gorham, the armored crystalline, whose species had dominated 3 star systems through sheer brutality, felt his carapace instinctively shifting to its most protective form. His compound eyes followed Sarah's every move with the urgent intensity of prey striving to stay hidden. Professor Kethvar's tongue darted anxiously. "A captivating viewpoint. Can you provide more details?" Sarah's face remained unchanged. "When an entity lacks natural predators, environmental pressures, and existential threats, its development takes a unique path. It doesn't have to show superiority, since there are no threats to its status. It has the luxury of being quiet." The holographic shadow stalker hovering above them suddenly appeared less formidable. The creature's foot-long claws and acid-dripping maw seemed almost charming next to the small human, who casually spoke of apex predation as if discussing the weather. As the break began, the classroom cleared out with surprising speed. Students who typically stayed behind to talk about the material suddenly had pressing reasons to be somewhere else. Only Sarah was left, continuing to jot down notes as if everything was normal. Professor Kethvar moved carefully, his innate instincts as a hunter clashing with his scholarly curiosity. He halted precisely 12 feet away, adhering to the unspoken limit set by every other predator species in the class. He started cautiously. "Speaking of your home world, planet Earth, the admission files are unexpectedly limited." Sarah glanced upward for just a brief moment. A glimmer danced behind her eyes, neither malice nor threat, but rather something much more disquieting, utter and total assurance. "Earth is quiet as well," she stated plainly. That evening, Professor Kethvar delved into the restricted areas of the galactic database. What he discovered prevented him from sleeping for 3 consecutive rotations. Earth was more than just another garden world that had given rise to spacefaring life. It was a completely different experience. The evolutionary history of the planet unfolded as a series of extinction events, each one more disastrous than the previous. Impacts from asteroids, eruptions of supervolcanoes, periods of ice ages, bursts of gamma rays, reversals of magnetic poles, and collapses of the atmosphere. According to all statistical models, the emergence of complex life should have been deemed impossible. Here was humanity, not merely existing, but flourishing. They had survived mass extinctions that eliminated 99% of species on several occasions. They had emerged from the remnants of their civilizations repeatedly, each time coming back stronger, more adaptable, and more resilient. The documents included various reports from initial contact teams. It was observed that humans exhibited no natural fear reactions to any recognized predator species. They engaged with cosmic horrors through a lens of scientific inquiry, conversed with world-ending entities as if they were negotiating trade deals, and regarded the galaxy's most feared apex predators as merely intriguing specimens. However, the most unsettling detail was a solitary line hidden within the xenopsychology reports. The human baseline stress response seems to be tuned for threats of extinction level. Common galactic threats do not register beyond their detection limit. The following day, Sarah Chen entered the classroom as silently as ever. She settled into her seat in the back corner, opened her notebook, and started jotting down notes with careful precision. The predators in the room instinctively upheld their 12-foot buffer, their instincts sending out warnings they couldn't fully understand. She was the most reserved in class. She never raised her voice, never made threats, and never showed aggression. She merely occupied that back corner, a reminder that in a galaxy teeming with apex predators, certain species have secured their status not by showcasing dominance or conquering territories, but by the far more chilling feat of having endured the unsurmountable. Professor Kethvar commenced his lecture on comparative lethality assessments, yet his gaze frequently wandered to the small human in the corner. Sarah Chen jotting down notes with razor-sharp accuracy, exemplifying the essential nature of predation. The most perilous predators were those you never anticipated, and Earth, their serene home planet, had dispatched its offspring to the cosmos not as victors, but something far more disquieting, survivors who discovered that in a universe intent on destruction, the ultimate power lay in the sheer act of defiance against death. The 12-foot rule stayed intact. Even predators recognized when they were outmatched.